Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for attending this talk today. And we're going to start by clarifying that I'm not associated with any of the companies that we're going to be talking about or the products that I'm going to be mentioning. I just think they're very cool and AI-wise, pretty useful. So please let me know at the end of the presentation if you have any questions. I'm going to be running some live demos at some points in the presentation, and when that happens, sometimes things go straight. So just bear with me if something happens. Okay, the topics for today's presentation is Foundation for AI. So we get on the same page. The path from programs to AIs, just a quick review. Then the tools for education. I have 3 examples for you today, and I think they're pretty useful in their own way. And if you combine them, they're even better. Then we move to ChatGPT and education. How can you customize it and tailor it to your needs, including providing it information and even connecting it to other systems. And finally, some ethical considerations and conclusions. So, yeah. First, the foundation, what it is, what it's not, and what can do for education. So, excuse me, artificial intelligence is not yet a sentient machine, but it's an area, it's a field of computer science that tries to create artificial intelligent machines like us. But it can basically create and perform different tasks like helping us do many things like learning, problem solving, and decision making. So it's not a human-like being. It doesn't have emotions or consciousness yet. It's not a replacement yet for humans, and we will talk about that later. But it's a tool to enhance what we do and support what we do. And it's not perfect. It's got many problems. It's infallible and bias is not any of those. And just so you remember, and this is a phrase I like from the people who work in AI, and they say, it is not like us, it is us. Because it's been trained after everything we do. So it's not like us, it is us. And that's got its own problems, right? So the impacts in education, they're way more than this, but I think these ones I really like because it's really focused on what we do. So it will assist educators. This content delivery, and some of the ones that I'm going to be showing today are related to content delivery. But this contextualized grading, so it's not just one rubric that you apply to everybody, but it knows who is where, and then it can tailor the grading to each individual. It can provide perspectives, personalized lessons, and provide real-time feedback. Student-wise, it can connect to the students efficiently by immersive learning, so it can connect to them the way they need it to connect to them. And also institutionally, it can simplify administrative tasks, so remove the administration burden of most learners and teachers, and actually take on many of the administrative tasks that you have to do. And finally, it can personalize learning, and I think this is going to be a big one in the future, in the near future, because it can create customized lesson plans. So you plan a class, but the class is not the same for everybody because not everybody's in the same page, or everybody's got different needs or different backgrounds. So you can actually create the class as you go for each of the individuals participating. The dynamic content adjustment, that's going to be a big one. And of course, the study materials. It's going to create different study materials for different types of learners. So now let's move to programs to AIs. Because most of us, we understand the concept of a program. So a computer program is just a set of instructions. So you tell a computer with very simple commands what to do, and it will do it. You can allocate memory, you can copy things over, you can process things, you can do something. It's a basic program. The really big programs are hundreds of thousands of lines. And I'm including this data here because I would like to show you a kind of an evolution of the complication, of the complexity of the code. Once you move to algorithms, it's more a step-by-step procedure. So it's not just instructions, it's more like a process to do something more complicated and accomplish something. So in this case, algorithms can be really big, and it can have 500,000 lines of code. For example, the Boost libraries have a lot of lines of code. And in the past, when the internet was created, a lot of people was amazed by the chatbots or this virtual assistant. And this virtual assistant, at the beginning, we thought it was kind of an artificial intelligence talking to us, but it was just rules and decision trees. So it was not intelligent. It just had some basic rules that it had to follow to talk to us. And you still find those in websites, and sometimes they're pretty useful solving things or just for user support and others. But chatbots are not artificial intelligence yet, and we're going to be showing that here. So once we move to machine learning and artificial neural networks, things change, because here we have machine learning, which is the field of AI which enables programs or systems to learn and improve. So they no longer have a set of instructions or a decision tree which you can follow that will take you somewhere. It's more learning, like we learn. Artificial intelligence can learn and improve from experience. And the more complex the experience is, the better, because then it can identify cases, emotions, scenarios. It can identify many things. And to show you the lines of code, the PyTorch holds about 2.5 million lines of code. Then when we move to artificial neural networks, it's inspired by the structure of the human brain. So it's more like, even more like us, because now it's thinking of nodes connecting to nodes. So one sending information to another and another one to another one. And then in that sense, it creates something like the human brain. It mimics the way we think. And Keras is one example of those, but look at the number of lines. It goes down to 50,000 lines of code. So this is an interesting case, because it's something that it got so complicated that then it simplifies at the end. Something like we do. So if you look at the cell and how the cell works and the DNA code inside it, it's super complex, it's super complicated, it's a lot of information. But once you look at how a nail works, it's not as complicated as one single cell. So something similar to, first it gets really hard and then it gets easy. And these two are usually used together in a combination. So just to clarify that they are not separate structures. And here, we're just getting to the end of this introduction. The LLMs and the transformers that are very common these days, and we seem to be hearing about them everywhere, even in the news. These models here, they're trained in massive amounts of information. It can be text, it can also be images, it can be videos, it can be audio, it can be many things. And the idea is just to create enough information, to provide enough information so it learns how the information works. And this is important. It doesn't create a database of those. It creates relationships. It creates connections in the information. And then it's able to use that to whatever end you need it. The transformer architecture, this is the T in GPT, for example, is the transformer. And it's a neural network that actually creates sequentials of something. So if you have text or you have audio or you have a conversation, you can actually follow that because it's sequential. And that's the T in the GPTs. And these are usually pre-trained, so you don't train them at the time they're using them. It's been pre-trained. And it's really good at conversation, as you already know from the utilization. And at the end, the future of AI, we're here in the narrow AI. So this is already available. This is basically for translation, conversation, image generation. It's pretty good at those things, but it's very narrow. So you cannot ask an image generation AI to talk to you efficiently because it cannot do it. At some point, we will achieve AGI. AGI will be able to do that. So it will be able to have human-like abilities. So it can have a conversation and also create images and also create videos and also do any of the other things that we can do. And eventually, We don't know how far in the future it is, but we will achieve super AI, and the super AI will be way superior to humans, will greatly exceed what we do, and we have no idea how it looks or how it will look, but it's definitely on the table for the future. So now let's drop that and let's move to tools for education. That is the focus of this talk. So I have 3 tools that I would like to show you today. I am using these ones because I use them. I know they're pretty useful. And again, I'm not associated with any of the companies or the tools that you're going to see. So the first one is Educate AI. This one, it's got a $6 cost per month. You can use it for free, but it's not the same. So this is how it looks. I'm going to show you live in a second how it looks. But this one here is it's a screen grab from the website. It's got it's a content generator if you're using it as a content generator. But let's do it right now so you can see it. So let's just grab a topic. This is a topic from a training that we're actually going to be creating with UMedSat for Central America and the Caribbean next year. So here we have the website. As you can see, you can select the area that you're teaching here. You can also select the grade that you're going to be teaching. So you can go from preschool all the way to college level students. Here you have planning. You can create information objects, independent practice objects, and many other. But there's over 100 of these that you can create, and you're going to see in a second how it works. So let's create a lesson seed for this course that I need to create. So I'll just put my topic here, and you can even enhance the topic. So I can actually ask it to enhance my topic, and it will try to create a better way of including the topic that I want to include, and then I can add it to my workspace. So on the right side, it is creating a lesson seed for this specific topic that I have. And it's actually pretty decent. I have been working with this for a while, and because it's education focused, it's really good for what you need. It knows what objectives are, learning objectives, what goals are, and even some of the others. Let me just move this over here. If you're working in French or Spanish, you can translate it from here. So you can translate to Spanish or translate French directly here, and it will use AI. It's not a raw translation, so it's a really good translation. If your lesson seed here, you have all these here that you can use, or all the others available in the other ones. Even there's some gamification that you can change things into games, or you can even create questions for the topic that you're using for your lesson here. But let me just show you at the bottom of the workplace here, it will actually suggest you activities. So I can have a reading comprehension assignment. I'll just click it and I'll just start creating it. And of course, these things can be edited right here on the side, or you can take them offline and edit them offline. But it's just a first step towards the creation of a lesson. Of course, I don't recommend going straight into a lesson with this material because you have to check what it's actually generating. We're going to be talking later about the biases of the AIs, and those problems are still there. We need to make sure that it's not affecting us. Remember, it's us. So the same problems that humans could have creating these materials are there. So for example, here you can create slides. And that's the second software that I'm going to be showing you in a second. Here's slides outline, for example. You can create the slides outline. So the slide 1 would be that one, slide 2, slide 3. So it gives you a pretty good idea of how to follow a class. And this is particularly interesting for people who are not educators. In my case, I'm a physicist. I was trained in physics, and I'm a university professor. So I have to teach a lot of classes at the university, and this will help me definitely go into the right direction for the class. So let's go back to the presentation and move on to the second one, which is Gamma. There is plenty of these ones on the internet today, and there's many AIs creating presentations and slides and PPTs and PDFs. This one I like because it lets you work whether you pay or not, and it also lets you use the AI up to a certain point. Of course, they need to have a business model. And then you have to pay $8 a month, and they get a discount if you do it annually. In this one, I'm going to be showing you first here because live, it takes a while to do some of the things. So when you need to generate a presentation, you just choose the presentation. You can also create websites or documents. It asks you how many cards or slides you want to create and the language you want to use. This is important because here you can use many languages. You can go to Spanish directly and create the presentation in Spanish, for example. Once you have included the topic, and I'm using the one that I just used for the other one, in here, you can just generate the outline. And here you have on the right side, the topics that you want to include in your presentation here. So you can edit this real time. So if you don't like this topic, you can just change it. You can add more, or you can freeform it. But the important thing here is that you can go editing each of the contents of the slides. You can here define who you're writing for. So who is this for? And the tone that you want to use in your cards. You can include the amount of text. You want it to be brief or you want it to be detailed. And you can choose whether you want to generate the text or condensed text that you have. And also here, the output language, the images. This is an important one. You can browse the web for the images, and you can choose whether they are licensed in a way that it's suitable for your presentation, or you can choose to create AI images. So you don't have problems with images with copyright issues or others. So you can just generate the images real time here. And once you press next, you choose a theme for your presentation, which is how it's going to look. And then you just click generate presentation. It will take a few seconds to generate the presentation. And I can actually show you the presentation in real time if you ask for that at the end. But this presentation here is the 5 slides that I asked for. It's got an introduction, the content of the presentation, and the finishing slide at the end. These images, I tweaked them a bit after they were generated because I didn't like the ones that it generated. But that's just clicking on the image and just selecting another one, which is really fast for a presentation. And then in a few seconds, you don't have to start from scratch. If you have a presentation for a specific topic, you can just use Gamma, for example, to create these slides and then start editing and tailoring it to your specific presentation needs. That's the one I'm using right now. In case you are wondering, I'm using Gamma for this presentation. So the Learning Studio AI is the last one I'm going to be mentioning. This one is a bit pricey, but you're going to be seeing in a second why it's so pricey. In this, the Learning Studio AI, it creates entire courses. So it's not like the AIs that we just saw. It's not one presentation, or it's not just some information for a class. It creates entire courses. And there's different ways to create them. There's a quick way, not very good. There's a guided way, which is way better, and you're gonna see it in a minute. You can also import files with text that you can use for your course, or you can start from scratch. But if you choose the guided one that I'm gonna be showing here, it takes about 3 minutes, 4 minutes maybe to create a course if you already have all the material that you need. So the guided path will ask you some questions. So for example, here, it will ask you what topic would you like to create the course on. You provide the topic, and then it will ask you which level. So I said I would like a basic course. Here's an outline. It provides an outline for the course. You can edit this real time, of course, and you can change it. You can amplify. You can increase it. You can do many things here. And then it asks you suggestions for what you include in the course. Let's include some practical exercises, a graded quiz, and a wrap up in the course. You can include many more topics here, but you will have to pay for the paid version for that. And then at the end is how would you like the course to look? Then you can choose classic or modern looks or some others. And then when it's ready, it will ask you to just continue. You create your course, and then it will just create it. It will take about 2 minutes to create a course. And this is the final product. So the course here was created with this instruction, so it's the same course. I think I tweaked the images as well, so it better fitted the material, but it's nothing big, just click it and change it. And in this one, you can see that it's a full website. You can move next and back to the presentation of this content. So it's a full course. It's gonna show you the learning objectives. It's gonna have questions. It's gonna have many things. You can click them and submit them and get graded immediately. And one of the things that I really like about this one is that you can download the course. But look, you can create a scoring package out of it. And for those who are in education, you know what this means, right? You can Moodle it. So you can take this scoring package that you created in this website and upload it to a Moodle website, and then have content in your course created with this tool, which is amazing because then you don't have to start creating a course from scratch every time. You can come here and the first iteration, the first approach, you'll do it with an AI assisting you, which is great. In case you want to, we can move here and we can actually take a look at the course. This is the course that I was just showing you. This is the live version of it. So here we have the course. I can edit it. So I can just click here and I can edit here immediately the course. I can take the image and edit the image, or I can edit the content, or I can just go to review and then keep using it. Here in next, if I click next, I can see the next part of the course. This is what is augments.leo. I can just click here and it will show me the definition. So as you can see, it was creating the content based on what I provided. And of course, if you provide more text, it will be better because it knows what to include in the course. It doesn't have to generate it, and you don't have to tailor as much afterwards. Here you have some flip cards, and at the end you have these other ones that you can use for importance for in forecasting. And at the very end, some of the cards. And finally, let me just get there. There's a quiz. Yeah, here's the quiz. So this is automatic, so I didn't write the questions, it wrote the questions. Of course, you can edit them real time here. But you can just answer them and submit them, and it will just grade them for you. So you have a final result of the evaluation of this quiz. So I did poorly because I didn't read the questions. But yeah, that's basically what you can do with this tool. And it's pretty nice for a first approach to a course. So let's move on to ChatGPT and education. This tool I use basically every day now. You're gonna see why in a second. So for those who are new to ChatGPT, and I know it's been everywhere for the last year in the media, but I think it's worth mentioning because even at the university level, I see some of my colleagues having some difficulties approaching it. So this ChatGPT is just an implementation of the artificial intelligence, like the ones we've been mentioning. This one is specific for human interaction to a chat. So we talk to an AI, it gives us answers back. So here, it can understand and respond to user inputs in contextual and coherent manner. And this is an important one, contextual and coherent manner. So we can teach it how to interact with us, how to talk to us, what we do, how we do it, and it will actually follow the instructions that we provide. So why would we customize ChatGPT? Well, that's you can read those. I'm not gonna go over reading those, but basically, you can personalize it to you. You can customize it to you. So if you go to the default version of ChatGPT, of course, it's useful. The better prompt you provide, the better answer you get, and that's an important one. When you're using ChatGPT, sometimes the questions are very short, very general, and that's the answer you get. It's a general answer. It's probably not going to be what you need because the question was very short. When you're talking to an AI, please write many paragraphs. for the initial conditions, and the answer will be way better than if you go for short questions. So the custom commands, this is an important one. When you tailor ChatGPT to your needs, you can create custom commands. So when you ask for something, or when you put a keyword or something, it knows what you mean. So it can actually create a lot of things, or generate a lot of things based on a very simple instruction because you taught it how to use it or what the instruction was. You can save your conversations and then use it for contextual awareness. So you can, if you've been working on something for the last 3 weeks with the ChatGPT, will start the conversations, and then you can ask ChatGPT, do you remember that we were working on this? I want you to work on this in the same way. So it will do the same job on the things that you're working on if you customize it appropriately. And I think that's pretty cool. So how you customize it? This is for the paid version. I don't think you can customize it in the free version. You can use versions that other people created, but you cannot create your own. So here, once you have the paid version, you can go to explore GPTs, and here you can find GPTs created by others if you look for the search GPTs. But here in the top right, there is a create button. In the create button, you can start this website where you can actually answer some questions, and these questions would create you the first version. And again, this is not the final creation of the GPT. This is the first version of the GPT. You will see in the next slide how to customize it. And that's where the important stuff is. So please pay attention to this part, because here you can create your GPT. For example, you can answer some questions like this one. What would you like to make? Should it avoid technical jargon or focus more on actionable steps? How would you like the AI to talk to you? And this is an important one. You can keep it formal, casual, or you can talk to me like if you're my friend. So you have like a very good interaction with it. Or it can do actually whatever you want it to interact with you in a certain way. Here on the right side, here, you can preview what you're writing here. So as you tailor it here, you can test it on the right side to see if it's actually doing what you want it to do. And then after the test run, you can save it. And here in the next slide, I'm going to show you one of mine. This is called Diana. Diana is my wife, and she's an educator, a professional educator. And I usually go to her for many advice in my course creation or trainings. So I created a digital version of her experiences so I can bother the AI instead of bothering her. So here you can see there is an edit GPT version, a button here on the top. Why is it there? Because once you create an AI, you will have to tailor it even further. So here, when you press edit GPT, it will provide you with the basic information like the name, the image that you use, the description, and the instructions. Of course, the instructions is what you created in the other one, right? When you were answering the questions, that is the instructions. But there is something way more important if you keep scrolling down. If you keep scrolling down here, there is a section called knowledge. In here, in knowledge, you can upload files. I didn't include any here because of the presentation. I didn't want to put documents here for you to see, but you can upload files here. So for example, if you have in your institution, if you have work documents, if you have laws that you have to follow for something, or guidelines for your training, or something that you need the AI to consider while talking to you, you can upload them here. So when you upload these files here, they will be considered while interacting with AI. So let's say your institution has, I don't know, specific guidelines for this type of training for satellite meteorology satellites or weather stations or something. You can upload them here, and they will be considered while creating content or while talking to the AI. That's the first big one. And the second big one is this one down here. There is an action section at the bottom of this edit GPT. It says actions. It says create new action. You can create actions here. And this is amazing because it connects the AI to the outside world. So if your institution has an API or whatever API you have, you can connect your GPT to the API. So you can tell the GPT, okay, whenever I write this in the chat, connect to my API, find the information, bring it back, and process it in this way. So this can be many things. For example, this can be connecting to databases, connecting to your email system. So you can give it access to your emails so it knows how you write, or you can even give it permission to answer some of the emails that you get from specific people or something. And basically turn them into your assistant using the APIs. And for those who work in a big institution, they usually have APIs for things. And you have a big IT department that will help you create this API interaction with GPT so that you can use this efficiently. And that's a big one because it's actually connected. So the limitations of ChatGPT, I think there's 4 limitations that we need to consider, because so far I've talked about the great things it can do, but there are some limitations and curiosities here. So the human actions and feelings, because it learned from us, it learned from all the documents that we have and all the information. It learned about feelings and even how you project yourself to others. So you can ask for things like a deep breath while working, and it will change the answer from the chat, or give it your maximum effort while doing something. It will not use more power on the servers or the clusters or whatever it's using to compute. That doesn't have any physical meaning, but it's got meaning in human wise. So it will change the answer. And if you want to try it, if you add this step by step to any prompt that you have, the result will be way better than if you don't. So just asking to do something step by step will improve the product of an AI considerably, because it knows what it means, right? It learned it from it. So it's got biases, and in these biases, I have one that it's interesting, that it's language biases. Whenever I work with ChatGPT, sometimes I do it in English, sometimes I do it in Spanish. But if I ask, "How are you?" in both of them, when I ask it in English, it will usually ignore it. So it will usually just ignore the question and keep working. But if I ask, "How are you?" in Spanish, it will actually take the time to say, "I'm okay, how are you? I'm happy that we're working together in this project," and then keep working. So it learned that in this language it's more important this than that, or in that language it's more important this than that, and it does it whenever you're interacting with it. So this bias is in there. It's got factual inaccuracies. So sometimes it makes up information or fails on information. It's just because it's hallucinating like we do sometimes. And the lack of common sense, this is a big one. So the lack of common sense, it lacks deeper understanding of things. So whenever you're asking something to an AI, remember this type of narrow AI that we're working with, it will create something if you ask it to create it. That doesn't mean it's going to be contextualized or embedded in the reality of whatever topic you're asking for, because it doesn't know how to do that. So the ethical considerations in AI, this transparency, and these ones are questionable in some senses because we are, so they need to be, but we should have clear lines of responsibility for these AIs. This bias and fairness, we need to stop that, because if we want our society to get better at those, we need to improve in the AIs as well. So we don't perpetuate those. The privacy and data protection, we need to make sure that the information is protected. Whatever you send to the AI, it should stay between you and the AI that you're using or customizing. And this ethical alignment, and this is a complicated one, because you want these AIs to be aligned with human values and ethics, but those same human values and ethics are questionable sometimes. So it's a complicated thing. And then just the conclusions and key takeaways. Embrace the power of AI. I know it seems like a complicated thing, but you can harness the potential of the AI. Understand limitations. I know there are limitations, but that doesn't mean that you don't have to use it or you can't use it. There's big, powerful things that you can achieve with AI. Customize it. Please customize it. When you use the ChatGPT in the raw way that you get in the chat when you go to the website, it's too general, it's too broad. It will not be good for your needs unless the prompt is really good. And then finally, stay curious and adaptable. Keep this curiosity spirit up, and just keep looking for more ways of using the AIs, because in the future, we're just going to have more and more of those. And I think we need to get better at using them. And I think that's the end of the talk. I didn't want it to extend too much because there might be some questions and things that we would like to see real time on the website. So I would like to have some time for that. I'm going to stop right here. And Tomislav, maybe get some questions from attendees.
Thank you for this very interesting presentation. So I see one of my colleagues said that this is the GraphCast of education. So I have one question. So did you go through the whole process to check how accurate is the content produced and how much you need to curate the content that has been produced? Because from what I understand, you only use one prompt in edua.ai, and then you reuse that content into other tools to create content. So everything is synthetic and very efficient. But once you go through everything, so how much time does it take to verify and how accurate and useful is the content that is produced?
Yeah, the AIs are not really good doing some things that humans do, but when you ask for definitions, for example, they're pretty good because they have the information. And this is something that we educators, we need to understand. In the past, educators had the knowledge, and we said, okay, if you want to learn this, you come to me because I have this information, right? In the future, I don't think that's going to be the case, because what is facts and information is probably going to be in AIs. So the why you have the information and how to use the information is going to be more important than the information itself, because it's just going to change. So whenever you ask an AI for something in Eduate, for example, it's going to provide you with the lesson plan, for example, and it's going to have some definitions in there. Those are pretty good. Whenever you start asking for exercises or questions, it's not that great. So you have to work on those. But usually the definitions parts are really good. And even some advanced ones, like I was testing a few days ago the quantum mechanics course created with this, and it's pretty accurate, it's pretty good. But again, you have to go over all the material and make sure that it's, of course, factual and that it's tailored to what you need. Regarding time, it takes probably, once you create the first version, to get something usable, it takes about an hour. And I tried that last week. We had a similar course at the University of Costa Rica for secondary educators. And they were amazed by this presentation, because when you provide lots of information, the presentation gets really good, really quick. If you just provide a prompt, it's going to be very generic. But if you provide lots of information, like topics, slide content, and some others, presentation is immediately usable.
Thank you.
Good morning from Kansas City. Can you hear me? This is really great for general information or general scientific information. But when you start getting into operational, let's say training for how to use EUMETSAT satellite data, I don't think it's due. Has anybody said that we can go ahead and use government data on this, because as soon as you put it there, it's public data? Do you understand what my question is?
Yeah, I think I understand your question. And I think that's why I included in the ethical, these privacy things, because if you're going to be providing information from your institution to an AI so it can help you with something, that doesn't mean that you want to give away your information. So I think that escapes the field of education, and it moves actually into the general utilization of AIs, because it needs to be, and this is probably laws on top of everything AI related, how the information is used. If you provide something for a specific task, that doesn't mean that you want to give it away. So probably there should be a law that actually restrains AIs and businesses from utilizing and incorporating that information into their utilization. But I definitely agree that there is no general, this is so new that there is no general agreement on how it should be used and what it can and can't do. So yeah, thanks Jim for your question.
Yeah, well, because in the National Weather Service and NOAA, you can't use, all you can use is publicly available data. Can't use any NOAA, DOC, or Weather Service data in it currently because there is nothing like that. So that's a big problem. But for educating people on what happens when moisture goes over a mountain, great stuff. But how to use AWIPS or do because you could set up training for doing warnings. This would be really great, but the data becomes very difficult.
Yeah, and I think that's I was in New Mexico a couple of months ago, and they were talking about how they are creating their own AIs for things. So I think here we need to understand that it's technology. So definitely in the future, there's going to be probably AIs built into institutions. So if you have this issue right now, it may go away in the future if you create your own AI for your documentation or your training needs or institutional activities.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. I don't think it explicitly does, but you know, it's many of these things are businesses working with information. So unless there's and it's hard to tell because if you go into the United States law, it's going to be one thing, but if you're using it internationally, it's going to be another thing. And at the end of the day, you know, when people were asking if ChatGPT was trained in books like Harry Potter and some others, they say no. But then if you ask for things, it knows about those things. So maybe read it somewhere else. It's a very complicated thing about information, and because it's not a database, it's hard to know where it came from. Because just like people, if you ask someone, "Have you read Harry Potter?" No, I haven't. But do you know who Harry Potter is? Yes, I know because someone told me, right? So managing information is going to be harder and harder with AIs. Have you requested the AI to cite the responses? Yeah, there are some very good ones citing things. Perplexity. I didn't cover that one today. I didn't cover many today because I just had limited time. But Perplexity is an AI that actually can cite anything that it says. So it will tell you where it came from. And it can create, if you're asking for a paper, it will actually send you the website or the information of the paper it's citing. It's called Perplexity. And that's a good one because it can cite. But you cannot trust these citations from ChatGPT because he can make up some of them. It's hallucinating. So you can ask it to double check and it will double check. And usually during the double checking, it would actually eliminate those that are fake. Google Gemini is really good at that, but it can also create some problems. So whenever you're trying to cite someone from the AI, make sure that you ask it to double check and to check if they're real. And remember, it's an AI, it's not a person. You can ask for many things repeatedly, it will not complain about it. So definitely do that. Yeah, again, this thing is so new. I don't think many of those things still are embedded or implemented as straightforward as other databases because it's not a database. And I think that's the hard part of it. We're thinking that AIs use databases like the old ones, like you have actual a slot for this information and this one for this information. It doesn't work like that. It has actually a neural network. So it's a collection. It's like taking someone and asking a person to forget something about a specific thing. You know, it's embedded in the neural network. So I think it's going to be more complicated than just going into a database and removing something.
Thank you. Would you have an example online that we can go and see for ourselves what the result is? So something you created or something you know created using those tools. Any topic, I'm open.
I don't have any like online. I do create material for some things at the university, work on many documents here in the institution, but I don't have them online. For example, I've been working on the new program of meteorology, and some of the things, whenever I have doubts about methodologies or things, I already have documents uploaded with examples of things that are professionally produced. So we work on those based on those. So, but it's documents. It's not like a course content that we have.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
No problem.